Last week we talked about the possibility of super soldiers like Bloodshot being real and discussed a little history behind the character of the Atom. You guys left some great comments, so let's see what you had to say. First and foremost, a couple of you guys like Josh Parrish and Sean Morrissey commented about how the video felt like it was sponsored. I want to be clear and say that it was not sponsored by Valiant at all. They didn't pay me to make the video. They did send me a lot of their comic books for free, and I made a video about that, which you can probably watch here, I think is the correct place. But they did not tell me to make the video. They didn't require me to make a video. It was just a video that I wanted to do because I really genuinely like their characters, especially Bloodshot, and we're going to be doing more Valiant Comics here on the channel. So if you want to be up to date on all that stuff, I suggest picking up some Valiant Comics. They're great. In the video that talked about Bloodshot, I had mentioned that the people at Valiant told me that they pride themselves on being the world outside your window, just slanted a bit. And AzzaKTM said that the world would have to be slanted quite a bit to accommodate characters like Vincent Van Gogh. Which, yeah, that's kind of true. The character, if you're not familiar, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about it, but it's just, imagine a very super-powered goat that has things like heat vision and teleportation and just a ton of different powers. And yeah, that one does kind of break that whole world outside your window kind of vibe. And I was tempted to give them, like, cut them a little slack with that one, but then I thought, where do I draw the line with that? Where do I draw the line between like, oh yeah, it's just a comic book, they're allowed to do that. That's kind of tilted a few degrees. But I think that's a slippery slope to go on, because at what point do I say that's too far? But I think that's a really good point. I don't know. I think Bloodshot kind of fits, but a lot of characters, yeah, maybe not so much. On the topic of memory, Danté Solablood and a few others said that there is this idea where memories can be transferred from person to person via organ transplants, and I've heard a lot of this before, and I did a little bit of research. It seems very anecdotal and not very scientific, and a lot of the articles that people were linking me to were just that. They were just tons and tons of anecdotes, and the articles were saying things like, now, how can all of these anecdotes be true if it's not true itself? But, I mean, Frank J. Sulloway, who is, I believe, a psychiatrist, said that anecdotes do not make a science. So having one anecdote is really no better than having 1,000 anecdotes. Now, I'm not saying that it is 100% false, like that sort of thing can never happen, because again, I haven't done studies on it, but I'm saying as it stands right now, if it's just anecdotes that points to this thing, then I can't really be confident in saying, yes, that is absolutely true. If there have been studies on it, please let me know in the comments. On a similar vein, Theodore Kogod asks, where do I get resources for science stuff? And this is kind of a two-part answer. So when it comes to just coming up with topics for videos, I try to surround myself with a lot of interesting things, books, podcasts, YouTube channels, and then I try to find out how to apply those interesting things to comics. So for example, we talked about Project Inception last time in that Bloodshot video, and I had heard about that from 4 completely different sources independently of one another. 2 podcasts, 1 YouTube channel, and a TED Talk all talked about those things. So that was something where I had just been bombarded with that so much that I figured I should probably try to make a video about it, because it is interesting. But when it comes to actually doing the research, I always say Google is your best friend, right? If you learn how to use that well, you can find basically anything you want to do. But I also say that Wikipedia is not a terrible place to start research. It's just a terrible place to end research. So if you go there looking for a bit of information, you can see where they pulled their sources from and then go from there. So again, Wikipedia, terrible place to stop your research. You can't just go on there and say, well, Wikipedia says this, so it must be true. Always check the sources, and yeah, just that's basically how I do everything. Now let's switch gears to talk about the video we made on Friday about how Adam got the name Ray Palmer. The #1 comment that so many of you guys left, like Derek Barnett, JP Kloess, stcredzero, and so many others, was that you preferred the voiceover style of the episode as opposed to the live action version that DK did prior. So because the show is so young and new and we get to experiment with it, I want to know if this is something that we should go forward with, if we should keep it as a voiceover or go back to how it was live action style. So to determine this, I set up a poll on Twitter, which you can go to, link in the description. It's just NerdSync on Twitter, and you can click to vote whether you want it to be a voiceover from now on or a live action one, and we will see what wins, and maybe we'll go forward with that. That'll probably be it for this week, guys, but did you know, before you leave, believe that NerdSync has not just one, but two podcasts. One of them is the NerdSync podcast. This week, we're talking about things that movies have changed about comics. So anytime a movie has influenced the comics, that's what we're talking about. It's gonna be some fun times. Hopefully, it's out right now. A new episode came out just today. We also have a second podcast called Flashback Flicks, which is from Ricky and his friend Grayson. You know Ricky, he's been on the show before. They talk about nostalgic movies and see if they still hold up today. Just play some fun games and everything with it. I was on a guest, nope, that doesn't make sense. I was a guest on one of the episodes, and it was so much fun. Go check it out. All of those links will be down there where they always go. You know this. And if you somehow missed last week's videos, you can check them out right here. Click on this one to see the video about Bloodshot and how comic book super soldiers could be real. It's a really interesting episode, lots of fun science behind it. Or you can check out this video right here about the Atom and how he got the name Ray Palmer based on kind of a dumb joke. And if this is your first time hanging out with us here at NerdSync, please hit that big sexy subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the new videos we make for you every week that explore the science, philosophy, and history behind your favorite comic book superheroes. My name is Scott, and I will see you on Wednesday for another episode of Comic Misconceptions. See ya.